I am so bad at accents. So 45 seconds on the clock. Go.
Basta. What?
Is that Italian? You're as bad as I
am. Well, the thing is that,
Jersey.
Yeah.
Accents. We all have them, regardless if you think you don't. Because, well, we all come from somewhere. Accents function as geographic and social markers within language populations. They tell from where speakers originate regionally or socioeconomically through their pronunciation of certain words, as well as pitch, the flow, and the range in which one speaks. But what makes some accents more appealing than others? Does Rebel Wilson's Australian accent somehow make her sound funnier? Would James Bond be as sexy if he didn't talk like a Brit? What about second language learners of English? How do their accents match up on the attractiveness scale? Anyone who learns a language, not as their native one, will most likely carry some traces of an accent from their mother tongue. This Linguistics 100 group will try to answer these questions of what makes some accents appealing or unappealing to native English speakers, analyzing native speakers' perceptions of British, Australian, French, and Mandarin accents in English through their speech patterns. Keep in mind during this video, which accents do you think are appealing or unappealing for that matter? Let's begin. Disclaimer. We acknowledge that these are broad strokes when it comes to the accents of English, French, and Mandarin Chinese, and we do not intend to offend or generalize any of these various dialects and languages.
To test out which language is more appealing, we recorded the accents of 4 individual students, ranging from British, Australian, French, and Mandarin. We asked the students to repeat the same phrase, highlighting the different pronunciation of each accent.
You like water because you're already like 80% of me.
During the American Revolution, non-rhotic, not pronouncing the R in such words such as hard and bar, in speech came into use among the upper class in southern England and London. Why, might you ask? Low birth ranking individuals who had become wealthy during the Industrial Revolution sought ways to distinguish themselves from other commoners, so this non-rhotic pronunciation was used to demonstrate their new upper class status. This British received pronunciation has very different pronunciations compared to the standard American. Other than differences in rhoticism, there are differences in vowel pronunciation, differences in consonant pronunciation, mostly for the letter T, change of stress comprising of certain French loanwords and suffixes such as ate and atori, and differences in articulation. American accented English has a clear tendency to pronounce unstressed syllables, whereas British English, accented English, does not show this disposition. In February 2015, the Time Out Global Dating Survey asked 11,000 people from around the world which accent they find the most appealing, in which the British accent came in first with 27% of the votes. So why do we find the British accent so appealing? Studies show that North Americans tend to associate the British accent with high social status, which is an appealing trait when looking for a romantic partner. British accents appear smarter, which people connect with an idea of sophistication. Additionally, British actors and musicians dominate mainstream media, and this association with attractive British celebrities visualizes this accent, making it more familiar. Years of James Bond, The Royal Family, Harry Potter, One Direction, Adele, and so many more have also popularized the British accent worldwide, increasing this fascination.
Do you like water? Because you already like 80% of me.
The Australian English dialect reflects the country's interesting historical background, cultivating its own unique accent. The first European settlers in Australia were convicts sent from the United Kingdom, and the usage of slang and swear words common among the social groups still remains in Australian English today. Some examples of slang words are hypocorisms using the suffixes of ie and oo, as in bobby for barbecue, deriving from common suffixes in Indigenous Australian languages. These Indigenous Australian languages influence a significant amount of the Australian English lexicon. The accent itself is often described as casual. A theory for the reason behind this is that English words spoken in Indigenous languages require less defined tongue and lip movements, as well as nasal sounds, in order to not sound out of place. The more informal lexicon and relaxed phonetics could cause it to be perceived as more attractive, as Australian speakers could seem more friendly and approachable based on their casual accent. Another notable trait of Australian English is that it has different vowel sounds compared to other forms of English. For example, today sounds like today, nice sounds like nice, and that hat sounds like that het. These and other distinct vowel sounds could make Australians seem more unique and foreign, and possibly more attractive.
Do you like water? Because you already like 80% of me.
Based on the results of our survey, the French accent had variable rankings from 2 to 3. One plausible explanation is that English speakers often face difficulties understanding French accented individuals. Nevertheless, in other studies revolving accent perception, French speakers have scored generally high in perceived intelligence, friendliness, and attractiveness simply from their manner of speech. Looking more in depth into French, pitch is a more important aspect than intensity, unlike in English. As a result, spoken French has a natural smooth rising and falling of intonation. Additionally, there is less of a difference in long and short vowels, and the highest pitch in French is almost always the last syllable of a phrase, whereas English has a more unpredictable rhythm. Phonetically, the French accent may be just pleasurable in which to listen. In our study, the French accent did score higher than the Chinese accent, again supporting that lighter accents consistently are favorable compared to stronger accents regarding their intelligibility. Another factor involved in its high ranking may be French culture and the French language itself being held in higher esteem and more familiar to North Americans compared to other languages like Mandarin Chinese.
Do you like water? Because you already like 80% of me.
After conducting our survey, we found that the Chinese Mandarin accent was rated as the least attractive with an average score of 1 on a 4-point scale. Why might this be? Well, there are a multitude of phonetic and social linguistic factors which could explain these results. Research has shown that because they put stress on different syllables and mispronounce certain words, listeners find English speakers with a Mandarin accent to be less attractive and comprehensible. To native English speakers, it might also be more difficult to understand what Mandarin accented speakers are saying. In a study, researchers compared speakers with heavy and light Mandarin accents to native American English speakers. They introduced some noise to mimic a busy room while the 3 groups read a passage. Although all groups were fully comprehensible without the noise, with noise it was harder to fully comprehend speakers with both heavy and light Mandarin accents compared to native English speakers.
The different vowels or consonants produced by Mandarin accented English speakers may account for this miscommunication. Also, English has some vowels that are new to Mandarin speakers, such as the I in hid, the E in bed, and the oo in oops. The results of our survey and the literature also suggest that speakers of English with a Chinese Mandarin accent may face obstacles because of the social and linguistic bias towards their accent. More complicated social issues such as language-based mockery in pop culture are also factors which could cause this negative association. The general absence of Mandarin Chinese accented speakers as protagonists in Western media does nothing to challenge these representations. Popular TV shows and channels, such as South Park on Comedy Central, are notorious for making these negative associations. Individuals with a Chinese Mandarin accent have a more difficult time obtaining employment and fitting into certain social circles because of their accents. We surveyed 100 of our classmates on their preferences for accents, and these are the results that we obtained.
We hope we've answered your questions about what makes some accents more appealing than others, and provided insight to some of the questions posed in the beginning of the video. So, why do we take pause when one of the Hemsworth brothers speaks? And what makes celebrities like Emma Watson and Prince Harry sound so good? In general, their pronunciation of different words, the history behind their origins, and the socio-political status associated with each accent influences their respective attractiveness. Overall, people will feel most comfortable with what they know. It is only over time that accents develop, and we all modify our speech to fit our environments and mimic those around us. Language shift is a slow process, so who knows what accents will be most appealing in the years to come. Attractiveness, intelligence, comedy, sophistication, brutishness, it's all just subjective and rather fickle if you think about it. We hope that you've enjoyed learning about these accents' phonetic and sociolinguistic backgrounds. Fostering a linguistic diversity is one major step we can take in facilitating understanding between each other on a global scale. Living in a society where many individuals are multilingual, we'd like to acknowledge the beauty of this multiculturalism and multilingualism.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed our project. Have a great day.
You used to call me on my. You used to. Yeah. You used to call me on my cell phone, late night when you need